All right, so today we're diving deep into some sample questions for anybody out there getting ready for a dairy processing technician interview. We're going to help you walk into that interview feeling super confident and prepared.
We'll pull some stuff from RoleCatcher's Career Guide, too. That way you're not just thinking about this one interview, but your whole future in dairy processing.
Perfect. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Imagine you're sitting across from the hiring manager, and they ask you, what experience do you have in dairy processing? How do you even begin to answer that one?
Well, it's really your chance to just showcase everything you've done. Like, really showcase it. Don't just give them a list of all the things you did at your last job or internship. Think about stuff you actually achieved and how that connects with the job description.
So, like, if the job description really emphasizes quality control, I might talk about a time I started using a new cleaning protocol and it reduced contamination rates.
Exactly. Hiring managers love quantifiable results. It shows you made a real, measurable impact.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what about a question like, how do you ensure quality control in dairy processing? That one seems pretty straightforward, but I feel like there's more to it.
Definitely. They're checking your knowledge of industry standards and attention to detail, so you'll want to mention things like HACCP, which stands for Hazard Analysis and Critical Control Points. It's how you identify and control potential hazards in food production.
Wow, I had no idea that even existed. See, I'm learning already.
It's a big deal in dairy. You really need to show them you understand the importance of food safety and quality.
Okay, so I could talk about HACCP and maybe give an example of how I've actually used it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could also talk about your experience with sensory evaluation, which is basically using your senses to make sure the dairy is good.
Wait, so you're telling me I get to taste delicious cheese all day? Where do I sign up?
Well, it's a little more scientific than that. You're looking for very specific qualities, like the taste, the texture, the aroma, the appearance. Got to make sure it all meets the standards.
Okay, so maybe not all L cheese all the time,
Yeah.
but still pretty cool. The RoleCatcher Career Guy also talks a lot about keeping up to date on research in the field. How would you work that into an answer?
I would mention any journals I read or conferences I attended, even online courses. It shows you're dedicated to learning and staying on top of everything new in the field.
That makes sense.
Ah.
Okay, let's try a tougher one. What are some of the challenges you have faced in dairy processing and how did you overcome them?
I'm sweating already.
Don't worry, it's not a trick question. They just want to see how you solve problems. Think about a specific challenge you had to deal with. Maybe a production bottleneck or a piece of equipment stopped working.
Like, what if a pasteurizer went down in the middle of a run?
First, you got to stay calm. Walk them through what you did. How did you figure out what was wrong? How did you troubleshoot it? Did you have to get other people involved? What was the outcome? And most importantly, what did you learn from it?
So it's all about showing them I can think on my feet. Exactly. And that you learn from your mistakes and can handle unexpected stuff. They might even ask you something like, have you ever had to make a difficult decision under pressure?
Ooh, that's a good one. Almost like a case study?
Exactly. Just tell a short and interesting story that shows off your skills and how you deal with pressure.
You're making me feel a lot better about all this. What other kinds of questions do you think they'll ask?
They might ask about specific equipment you've used. This is where it helps to be specific. Don't just say pasteurizer. Mention the brand and the model if you can. It shows you really know your stuff.
So I could say something like, I've worked with a Tetra Pak filler, and I'm familiar with the CIT system.
See, now that sounds good. Now, they also like to ask about safety, like how you would ensure safety in the plant.
I mean, that makes sense. We were talking about
That-
food and heavy machinery.
Right, super important. So you want to show you understand the safety regulations and protocols, but also that you take personal responsibility. Talk about safety training you've completed or safety initiatives you've led. Anything that shows you want to create a culture of safety.
So it's not enough to just know the rules. I have to show them it's a big priority for me.
Exactly. They want to know you're going to be proactive about it.
Got it. What about compliance? That seems like a big deal when you're working with food.
Oh, yeah, that's essential. They might ask something like, what steps do you take to make sure you comply with all the regulations? And guess what? HACCP is your friend again.
So I could say I've implemented HACCP plans in the past, or that I've kept up to date on FDA regulations.
Exactly. Show them you understand how important those regulations are and that
Yeah.
you have a system in place to stay compliant. They might even ask about a time you had trouble maintaining compliance and what you did.
Tricky, tricky.
It always comes back to those problem-solving skills.
You're right. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about these.
Yeah.
What else should we be ready for?
They'll probably want to know about your experience managing inventory, which basically means they want to know how organized you are.
So if I've used inventory management software before, I should mention that.
Absolutely. Be ready to give examples of how you managed levels, how you minimized waste, made sure products were stored correctly and rotated.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, how about something like, what are some trends in the dairy processing industry that you are following? That one's a little more open-ended.
It is, but it's your chance to show them you're passionate about the field and you care about what's happening. You can talk about sustainability, new technologies, what consumers want these days.
Oh, like how everyone's into plant-based stuff.
Exactly. It's all about showing them you're really interested in the industry and its future.
Okay, so I can show off my knowledge of the dairy world and my
Yeah.
love for all things cheese.
Yes. All right, last one. How do you ensure dairy processing equipment is properly maintained?
Ooh, I'm ready for this one. Preventative maintenance.
You got it. Show them, you know how important regular maintenance is so things don't break down and cost a ton of money? You can also mention if you have any experience troubleshooting or fixing equipment.
So I could say something like, I created a preventative maintenance schedule that reduced downtime by 15%.
Perfect. Always try to tie it back to real numbers if you can.
Yeah.
Okay, last one, for real this time. How do you ensure that dairy processing operations are efficient and cost-effective?
Okay, that's a tough one.
It is, but it's also a chance to show you understand the big picture.
So it's not just about knowing how to work a machine, it's about thinking strategically about the whole process.
Exactly. You could talk about process optimization or lean manufacturing, waste reduction strategies, anything that shows you know how to streamline things and keep costs down.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot here. We talked about how to show off our experience, how to highlight those problem-solving skills, and how to show our passion for dairy. I'm feeling a lot more prepared for this interview.
Great, but there's one more thing we need to talk about, and this is where things get really interesting.
Ooh, tell me more. Does this have something to do with RoleCatcher's AI?
It does. Let's talk about how their AI tools can really take your interview prep to the next level. RoleCatcher's not just giving you advice, they've got AI tools that can help you with your resume and even your answers. It's like a career coach right in your pocket.
Okay, now we're talking. Tell me everything.
So think about this. You upload your resume and their AI looks at it, but it doesn't just look at it in general. It compares it to the specific job you want, and it tells you what skills you should talk about more, what you might be missing, and what needs a little more oomph.
Whoa, so it's
Yeah.
not just a regular resume checker, it's actually looking at the job I'm applying for.
Exactly. It's like knowing exactly what the hiring manager is looking for.
Yeah.
And then you stand out from all the other people who applied.
That's amazing.
And it gets even better. They have AI that can give you feedback on your answers to interview questions, so you can practice and get advice on how you sound and what you're saying.
Hold on. So I can do a mock interview with a robot.
Think of it as a personal coach who's available all the time. You can practice your delivery and polish your answers, and then when you go into the real interview, you'll feel so much more confident.
Right, because confidence is everything.
Exactly. They can tell when you believe in yourself.
So we've talked about experience, problem-solving, passion,
Right.
and now we've even talked about AI. I am ready for this interview.
That's the spirit. But before we finish up, I want to mention something from the career guide. It's about the dairy industry in general.
Oh yeah, give me some wisdom.
Okay, so they talk about how much the industry is expected to grow, which means there are going to be more jobs.
So this isn't just a job, it's a whole career.
Exactly. And there are different paths you can take. You could become a manager, you could specialize in something like cheese, you could even help make brand new dairy products.
Sign me up for the cheese path.
The possibilities are endless. Just make sure you keep learning and stay curious.
So what are some things I can do to stay ahead of the game?
Go to conferences and workshops. That way you can meet other people in the field and learn about the newest stuff. There are also online courses and certifications you can get. That always looks good on a resume.
So I need to keep learning my whole career.
Yep. The industry is always changing with new technology, new ways of doing things, new problems to solve.
I'm ready for it.
And remember, RoleCatcher can help you through it all.
It's like having a guide to the dairy world.
Exactly. Okay, one last thing. Remember how we talked about passion?
Oh yeah. You said it could really make a difference.
It can. When you really care about something, people can tell.
But how do I show that without sounding fake?
It starts with being genuinely interested. Do your research and find out what excites you about dairy.
So if I love the science behind cheese making, I should talk about that.
Exactly. You can also tell stories about yourself. Maybe you grew up on a dairy farm or something.
Little things to help them remember me.
Exactly. Just remember, an interview is a conversation. Be yourself, be enthusiastic, and let that passion shine through.
I think we've given everyone everything they need to nail that interview. and to have an amazing career in dairy.
And if you get stuck, you know where to find us.
And you know where to find RoleCatcher, your AI-powered career friend.
Exactly. Good luck with your interview, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
So we've basically given our listeners a roadmap for their entire dairy processing career.
And this is really just the beginning. The dairy industry is always changing, so you have to keep learning.
Okay, so how do they do that? What are some good ways to stay updated?
There are tons of industry publications and forums online. Those are a good place to start. They can help you learn about new trends and technologies and even challenges in the field.
So I can just stay on top of everything that's going on.
Exactly. And don't forget about networking. Going to events and meeting other people in the field is super valuable. It can open up new opportunities you never even thought about.
So it really is about who you know.
It can definitely help. And don't be afraid to reach out to someone you admire in the industry. Most people are happy to help.
It's all about making those connections.
Exactly. And of course, RoleCatcher can help with all that too.
They really can help with everything.
They can.
Okay, before we go, I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier about passion. It sounds like really being excited about the dairy industry can make a big difference.
You're right. When you're passionate about something, it shows.
So how do I make sure that comes across in the interview without sounding like I'm trying too hard?
Well, you have to actually be interested. Do your research and find out what you like most about the field.
Like, let's say I'm really into the science behind cheese making. I should talk about that.
Exactly. And you can even share some personal stories, like maybe you grew up on a dairy farm or something.
Oh, yeah. I bet that would make me stand out.
It would. At the end of the day, an interview is just a conversation. So just relax, be yourself, and let your excitement show.
I think we've covered everything our listeners need to ace that interview and to have an amazing career in dairy.
And remember, we're here to help if you need anything.
And RoleCatcher's always got your back.
Exactly. Good luck with your interview, and we'll see you next time for another Dip Dive.
And happy cheese making, everyone.